One thing I think a lot of people don't know about today's AI is how proficient it is at foreign languages other than English. If you tell it to respond in another language or start talking to it in a foreign language, it will be able to respond in almost all cases in the language that you're going for. It doesn't know every language under the sun. I'm sure there's some old language that's only spoken by 50 people or something along those lines today. ChatGPT will be unlikely to be able to assist you with that unless that language is used a lot on the internet. The quality of its responses in a foreign language is going to correlate directly with how much training data it saw in said language. Languages like Spanish, Russian, Chinese, French have a ton of examples online. You can find all of those languages everywhere on the internet. And because of that, ChatGPT is likely very, very good at all of those. It's still going to be the best in English just because of how dominant English is on the web. But a lot of those other languages it knows very well. I'm going to give you guys an example here. So I can ask it, instead of how are you, I can say, ¿Cómo estás? Hola, Tommy. Estoy bien. Gracias. ¿Y tú? That's very nice. You can also, if we start a new chat, you can ask it a question and tell it to respond. So you can ask it a question in English and have it respond in the target language. What is your favorite thing to do? Respond in Spanish. I didn't use any Spanish in the prompt, but I told it directly that it needs to respond in Spanish. The text model, ChatGPT, which you're seeing here, can handle foreign languages, but so can the audio model. We were looking at yesterday GPT-4o audio preview, and we were using it to critique my English speaking abilities. That was a lot of fun and very helpful, to be honest. The fact that it can actually look at the audio file and detect things like pronunciation, pacing, and other pieces of information that are only present in audio and not in text is very, very helpful. And especially in the context of learning a foreign language, being able to get feedback like this is extremely helpful. I'm going to show you guys how I incorporated this in my application. So if we go over here into the audio page, which I just built, you can select a language. We're going to start with Spanish. And we're going to take a sample of me speaking Spanish, and the AI overlords are going to critique me, and hopefully they're not going to be too harsh, but we'll see what happens. Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿De dónde eres? Yo vivo en Estados Unidos. Me gusta correr. Me gusta aprender idiomas. So let's process that. I asked it where it was from and told it that I like to run and learn languages. It takes a second to process all of this because the whole recording needs to get sent to OpenAI. I hope something's not wrong here. There we go. Eventually it worked. I just whipped this up, still ironing out some of the kinks. And as you can see, we get the transcript. I initially showed you guys the OpenAI Whisper model, which takes text as takes speech as an input and turns it into text. It works in all of these other languages as well. So that's why you see the transcript here. Then we get the critique. The language model got that full sample of the audio, and it also received some instructions. So why don't I show you guys the instructions? Here they are. You will be given an audio recording of an American male speaking language. And language is in brackets here because I want it to work with other languages besides Spanish. Russian, Chinese, whatever. This prompt will work. He's a native English speaker who is learning language for fun. Your job is to critique his speaking ability and provide actionable feedback so they can improve his language speaking ability. And I'm also telling it the critique needs to be specific. I want it to tell me things like, you use this word incorrectly, you didn't conjugate this verb correctly, your pronunciation in this part of this word was incorrect. That's very actionable for me and is going to be much more helpful. And I'm also telling it, hey, respond in English. That's going to be easier for me to digest. I could toggle this if I was extremely comfortable in the target language, but for demonstration purposes, this is going to be very nice. And the reason you need to say this is if you remember when we went over here and we were talking to it in Spanish, so that would be this chat here. I didn't tell it to respond in Spanish. It just detected and decided that it needs to respond in Spanish. So if I give it a very large audio sample of me talking in Spanish, it's likely to think that it needs to respond in Spanish and do that. By telling it you need to respond in English, the chances of that happening are much lower. Let's do Russian. Let's have some fun with a little Ruski Yazik. My Russian is not nearly as good as my Spanish, but we're learning. So that's why I built this tool in the first place. Let's give it a shot. Поехали. Привет. Меня зовут Владимир. Я живу в Москве. Мне нравится изучать языки. I think the last word I said had an error. I'm almost positive of it. And I'm hoping that the AI overlords are going to agree. And again, I hope they're not too mean. Nice. They're good. Let's go. Absolutely nailed. My name is Vladimir. Okay, my pronunciation could have been a little better. Oh, wow. I did pretty well. I'm going to pat myself on the back for that.